scene 1 of our play. And this scene is entitled Emails Are Records Too. So I would like to call up the actors who are in this scene. Portraying Craig, the County Commission Chairman, we have Bill Thompson, County Prosecutor. And portraying the County Prosecutor,
Train Bill.
Samantha Malott, Courts and Crime Reporter for the Daily News. This should be
Big for her
fun.
pants, I can tell already.
So it may seem like just a few minutes since we met Lucky the reporter, remember him? Who had stumbled upon an illegal meeting of the county commissioners at the local cafe. But in the time of this play, 6 months have passed, and a lot has happened. Lucky wrote a story about the deal to pave the road to the commissioner's brother-in-law's place, revealed that the chairman's father is the secret owner of the proposed nuclear power plant by the wildlife sanctuary, and of course, made a big deal out of the illegal meeting at the cafe. The commissioners were each required to pay a $500 civil penalty for knowingly participating in an illegal meeting, and are barely on speaking terms with the prosecutor, who referred the complaint to the Attorney General. Lucky received the prestigious Golden Gotcha Award from the State News Editors Association, and the cold shoulder from just about everyone at the county. Recently, Lucky has noticed that Sid Sational over at the TV station seems to be breaking a lot of news about the county. No longer a rookie reporter, but armed with the wisdom of 6 months on the job, Lucky senses that this is not a coincidence. Playing a hunch, he makes a public records request for copies of any records, including emails, mentioning the Daily Splash, or directing county employees how to respond to the media. As it turns out, Lucky is still lucky. The commissioners, not so much, as the chairman is about to learn from the county prosecutor.
Well, looks like you guys are really in for it this time, Craig. The county clerk has gone through the emails to employees, and she's found 15 from you or one of the other commissioners telling the department heads that any county employee quoted in the Daily Splash is on any subject is going to get fired. Heck, you and Ed each sent out one just the day before yesterday threatening to fire anybody who had a copy of the Daily Splash on county property. I've got to tell you, that statement you put out about apologizing for the coffee shop meeting and voicing your utmost respect for the public's right to know what the county is doing is going to look pretty hollow when Lucky gets a hold of these emails.
What do you mean, when he gets a hold of them? He's never gonna see them. Those emails aren't public record. Just like that newspaper, we don't let it in the courthouse because we got plenty of toilet paper already. They're just messages. You know, like if I called somebody on the phone.
Sorry, Craig. The Idaho Supreme Court says otherwise. Emails are public records, and they're treated like any other records. They're public unless they're covered by an exemption.
Are you a Democrat? Good Lord! Talk to the boss down in Boise, the secretary, and he'll tell you that's not the way it is. I'm sorry. I was really off script there. Really? Oh, gosh. Okay, well, come on. These are exempt. I mean, they're personnel records. You said as much yourself. I mean, they're telling employees they'll get fired if they talk about that little scandal sheet. You know, if that isn't a personal record, I don't know what is.
That one's not going to fly either, Craig. In this same case, the Supreme Court said personnel records are only the types of records you typically find in a personnel file, like a letter of recommendation. Your emails are telling county employees how they should respond to a certain constituent. That seems more like the administration of the public's business than a personnel decision to me. I'd have a hard time keeping a straight face if I had to argue that these emails are personnel records.
Well, it's just a recommendation they're going to get fired. No? No. Well, okay. At least can we take out the parts where we call that nosy little twerp, the nosy little twerp? And they'll hang us out to dry if they get their hands on that one, even though it's true.
Give me just a minute to look at the statute. Maybe there's an exemption for personal insults. Nope, don't see one. Looks like he gets the nose little twerp comment, along with the "this is such a lousy newspaper, I wouldn't use it to housebreak my dog" comment. Head through it. My advice is you get these emails out to Lucky pronto.
Woohoo! Well done. Well done. So, emails are treated like any other record. They are public unless they are exempt. You have to find a specific exemption. Brian's going to talk a little bit about a case that of some measure of notoriety up in the North Idaho area that brought that matter fully into focus and really got our attention on that matter. And calling a record a personnel record doesn't make it one. The Supreme Court reminded us that all exemptions are narrowly construed, and if you wouldn't expect to find a record in an employee's personnel file, it's probably not a personnel record. People who ask for records get the whole record unless there is a specific exemption to withhold a certain portion of that information, such as the Social Security number. Just a quick story. A number of years ago, we had done a review of a police-involved shooting. At the conclusion of the shooting, we made the determination that no crime had been committed, therefore it was a closed investigatory record. And at that point, it was subject to disclosure, so we made CDs of all of the documents, and when someone wanted them, we just handed it to them. And when we did that, we happened to, as we were going through that, there were a couple of witnesses that we failed to redact the Social Security number and bank account number of these witnesses. Now that's pretty sensitive personal information. So I went to the respective media outlets and had explained to them that we had made this error, and with one exception, everybody said, oh yeah, we'll give you back the document, and we gave them a new copy, a redacted copy, properly redacted, and so they got everything that they needed and they were entitled to. One group was, no, you disclosed it, therefore it's public and we get to have it. And I, after some measure of discussion with them about the issue, they finally surrendered that document, which we had simply just made an error. Going through, a big stack of documents, you missed a Social Security number, a bank account number, and it was not appropriate for that to be disclosed. So there are some practical points on this in this scenario that you want to think about. One, listen to your mother. If you don't have anything nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all. Or two, listen to your father. How could you be stupid enough to put something like that in writing? Or three, listen to Mark Twain. Don't argue with a man who buys ink by the barrel. There's a couple of them in this room. So, let's see, Betsy.
So the process of getting public records works best when it's a nice friendly thing. The citizen or the reporter requests the records, the agency hands them over promptly, and there's no dispute. It's not always that way. Sometimes it's a hostile situation, which is not ideal. And my best advice to those who are seeking records from an agency in a hostile situation is to have an inside guide, if possible. Because that's the only way that you can find out exactly what the record you want is called. And if you ask for that specific record, they have to give it to you. At one of our previous seminars last year over in eastern Idaho, I heard from someone who said, there's this guy who's so mad at us, and he submitted a request for the long record. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what he wants, but that's not what he asked for, and he's so mad he won't let me tell him that. That's not the ideal situation. That's not what we want to have happen. That guy's going to end up paying a bunch of money getting something that's not what he wants. It's nice when we can cooperate. I make a number of public records requests myself.
Really?
And I had reason to make one recently after a debate in the governor's race, in which Governor Otter said something unexpected. He said that if the FBI finds anything criminal in their investigation of Corrections Corporation of America in that private prisons case, then the settlement that the state had already signed with them, the $1 million settlement, would be set aside and they could go after CCA. Well, this was new to me. This was new to all the reporters watching, and I wanted to fact check that. So I filed a public records request with the governor's office for the portion of that settlement that said that it could be set aside. And they were kind enough to give me the entire settlement. Turns out it was only 9 pages long. But in addition, they said, this might help answer your question. And they gave me an email exchange between an aide in the governor's office and the Deputy Attorney General at the Department of Corrections asking this very question about whether the settlement set aside all civil and criminal liability. And the answer back from the Deputy Attorney General was that a civil settlement cannot in any way affect or set aside criminal liability. So if there's anything criminal, it's not covered by the settlement. I got my answer because they cooperated. We had a good relationship. That's how we hope that it works. Our next act, Act 2, Scene 2, is entitled Mind Your Business. And so I would like to call up the actors for this one. Portraying Ernest, the rookie reporter, we have Deanna Vance, records manager for the Latah County Sheriff's Office. And in the role of undertrained, the overly cautious clerk, Nathan Alford of the Boston County Police. In this scene, we meet Ernest, a rookie reporter. Ernest, please wave at the audience. And undertrained and overly cautious clerk. Undertrained, please wave at the audience. Ernest has received a tip that the county road superintendent's property has been assessed at 30% less than a smaller property right next door. It's a heck of a story if it's true, but Ernest is a bit shy and doesn't want to look nosy. He's also afraid that if he reveals why he wants the assessment, he won't get the documents he needs. Undertrained also thinks Ernest is being nosy, and he's afraid that if he makes a mistake, he'll get fired.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Well, fine, I guess. I was kind of wondering if, like, maybe you could, get me some of those things called records. I'd like, to get a copy of, the county road superintendent's, what do you call it? Oh, yeah, assessment, and maybe his tax bill too. Do you, think I could maybe get those things?
Oh, that's personal. I can't do that. I'd get fired.
Oh, well, I was, kind of like checking out a rumor, and I, was told that these are, public records.
Well, why would you want to look at someone else's tax record?
Timeout, penalty, throw down flag, 15-yard, roughing the constituent, 15-yard penalty. Thank you very much.